Bryce McCluskey and Melanie Lynn argue in their book, The Idea of the Digital University, that the digital revolution is affecting the way higher education institutions function, as well as changing its structures with more online mediums, such as the implementation of online courses. This dramatic change in the way we communicate and access information disrupts how we view higher education today. To understand the modern digital universities, it is important to recognize the origins of higher education so that we don't lose sight of some of the same arguments that have been playing out since early eras. The University of Paris is regarded as one of the first universities. It was founded in 1190 and run by a faculty guild. However, the University of Bologna claimed it was founded in 1008, but this university was founded by a student guild. In fact, the formulation of faculty governance gave the modern university its present form. For example, at UW-Madison, there is a system of shared governance involving students and faculty who hold positions in organizations such as Faculty Senate and the Associated Students of Madison. Education in colonial times was aimed toward the upper class and the elite. Curriculum was based on biblical scriptures in addition to Latin and Greek classics. The earliest university's missions was to produce ministers for the colonies. For example, Harvard was founded to educate ministers of the Puritan faith, while Princeton taught young men to be Presbyterian ministers. Many of these original universities also had issues with other pagan works such as Plato, Pliny, and Cicero. In the first universities, less than 1% of the population was enrolled, and that demographic consisted mainly of white males who received education with the mission of becoming gentlemen. Colleges for women were founded much later, although these were taught more as finishing schools rather than rigorous academic institutions. The Litchfield Female Academy in Connecticut was founded by Sarah Pierce in 1792. Subject matter included needlepoint crocheting, but also history, composition, geography, ancient languages and literature, Latin, philosophy, rhetoric, and logic. Despite previously low attendance, by the early 1920s, more Americans were enrolling in college, with almost 4% of the population attending a higher education institution. The population of college students almost quadrupled in a century and a half. One of the most influential measures for higher education in America was the land-grant college system. These were the Morrill Acts of 1862 and 1890, under which the government allotted land to states to raise funds for universities that would teach agronomy, agriculture, engineering, and the mechanical arts. The Morrill Acts and the government funding to provide more practical education to endeavors such as sheep breeding and farming caused criticism from proponents of the classical education, which raised questions about the purpose of universities and higher education. The idea that higher education institutions as research centers also emerged in the 1800s and followed the German educational model. These institutions focus on creating knowledge rather than its application through teaching. This 19th century was a critical time in higher education where there were two trends of thought. The first was that land-grant colleges were fostering practical knowledge while research universities were remaining on the forefront of discovery. In the 1890s, community colleges and technical institutes began to appear on the educational scene, which also departed from the traditional study of the classics. Community colleges were meant to supply workers with mechanical skills needed for the jobs provided by the Industrial Revolution. The Truman Commission in 1947 coined the term community college because these schools were supposed to serve the local community's economic needs, but they were criticized for watering down higher education by diverting away from the classics. The approval of the GI Bill, which provided higher education benefits to returning World War II soldiers, also shook up higher education. With its passing, enrollment increased from 150,000 people in 1940 to 500,000 students in 1950. In 1947, the Truman Commission continued the push for higher enrollment by advocating for more affordable education so that college would not just be available for the elite. Minorities and women were also marginalized at this time in higher education. The Commission's plan was to increase enrollment from 2.4 million students in 1947 to 4.6 million in 1960. Members argued that 49% of Americans were capable of and could benefit from college education. Many initiatives to improve higher education by the government are to ensure America remains competitive on the global stage. Today, the nation with the best educational system will be the most competitive and have the greatest advantage on the global stage. The debate around the purpose of higher education is still occurring today. The digital revolution only further complicates the issue as we grapple to figure out what the role of technology is in a learning environment.